before you aspire to be someone, before you look up to someone, you have to look up to yourself first, right? You have to believe in yourself that you can actually be that person.
Welcome to Hustleshare, the podcast that features the daily grinds of unique hustlers around the world to show not our differences, but that our hustles are very much alike. Now here's your host, Ronster Bae-pyong.
Welcome to the 11th episode of the Hustleshare podcast. My name is Ronster, and I'm your host. And this episode is brought to you by Payroll Hero, a time, attendance, scheduling, HR, and payroll solution for Philippine companies. In this episode, we're going to be talking about roots. Why roots? Because this guy that we're going to have next is very, very vital to my journey as an entrepreneur and as a person. And basically, this guy was very responsible for honing me as an individual and as a man and into what I am today. And his name is Alexis Dabon. He is the executive director of Teletech Philippines, where he currently runs or he manages over 2,000 people under his wing. And in his hustle, we're going to be talking about how he started as a fil-am growing in the States and how he started out as his first job as a call center agent and how it was like growing up in there and how eventually he was sent all over the world and how he was able to go back to his roots here in the Philippines and start a very lucrative career. We're also going to be talking about his tips on how you can hustle as a call center agent and climb up your ladder all the way through being an executive in a call center, and how his tips are and how to manage time and stress and many more. We're also going to be talking about his journey when he decided to be an entrepreneur and how he changed when he went back into the BPO industry. And lastly, Alexis is going to be sharing a lot of wisdom with us through this episode because he's been through a lot of hardships, and how you can literally bounce back and apply all of that in your hustle. So if you're down with that, let's begin the episode right now. Welcome to Hustleshare episode 11. We are back, and it's weird because we're now in a brand new place. It's our first out of town episode. We're in Cebu, and we have a very special guest, someone I consider a good mentor, a brother, sort of like a borderline father, to be honest. And he's someone who's helped me out a lot. And then I wanted to feature him in this podcast for this early because he's been instrumental in my journey and as a person, and my journey not just in business but also as a man. So without further ado, please welcome to the show Alexis Dabon. Welcome to Hustleshare, Alex.
Thanks, Ron. For some people, they would probably say Dabon.
Yep.
But here in the Philippines, they say Dabon.
Right, Dabon.
Yeah.
Dabon.
Just like your last name, everybody.
Yeah, they fuck it up. Baktyong, Baktines, who the fuck ever. Like, it's a joke. I just, they always say that, when you make fun of yourself, nobody can make fun of you. So I just,
that's right.
Yeah, I do it to myself.
You gotta do it first before they do.
Fuck yeah, exactly. So Lex, I've known you for a while, and you're very instrumental in, again, my journey. I technically started like your intern, right? We had the same idea. You were running this fucking nightclub back in Ortigas back then, right? I was absolutely clueless, but you took me in, no holds barred and what's not. But before we get to that and let's ride the Hustleshare time machine, right? Let's talk about your hustle. So Alexis, what's your hustle now?
So first of all, I just want to say that hustle for me is something that it wasn't very easy.
Right.
So my hustle now is basically I represent a large BPO company here in the Philippines. We'll just keep that
name the wraps. This Company X. Yeah. Let's call that Company X.
But I actually started in this industry about 22 years ago.
22.
Yeah.
All right.
And I never realized that I will end up wanting to be an instrument in this industry by
Yep.
helping other people.
Yep.
So now what I basically do is I run programs that will employ thousands of people.
Yep. And to be specific, how many people are you taking care of under your wing, technically?
So under my wing is just slightly under 2,000 people.
Two fucking thousand
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
And by the way, we can cuss here, FYI, if I told you that. Like, yeah. Just like, keep it real, like, keep it OG. Party like it's 2000 fucking 10.
Beep.
Yep. Insomnia. That was a shit back then. But yeah, Lex, 2,000 people, you lead them. And that's a lot of weight. I'm leading a team of 30. And I feel like I have a lot in my hands. But what's the perspective like in terms of weight if you know that you have 2,000 lives plus their families that you have to take care of? And that's what we want to discuss in the show. But before we get to that, we get too carried away, let's ride the Hustleshare time machine because we have that. I don't know how it looks like. I'm envisioning it's the beetle that's outside your street, like, but it functions. And again, I want to track back because for your information, Alexis technically is full Filipino, but he didn't grow up here. You grew up from the States, and I want to discuss that because that itself is a hustle, right? You've seen how racism is now in the States and whatnot. And then as a minority growing up in a predominantly white environment, right? It's a totally different ballgame. I want to understand the perspective of how you guys got there. How was it like growing up in the States and, hustling your way as a flip? You taught me this shit that they call them flips back in the States, right? I was a fake OG because I was never, first time I've been there was last year. But how was that like, that experience growing up in the States as a minority?
So it wasn't very easy, primarily because one, you have to deal with the differences in culture.
Okay.
So definitely your upbringing, especially in our case, we were brought up like a Filipino family.
Yep.
And in most cases, it's not seen as well accepted in some areas.
True.
So in the area where I grew up is predominantly a lot of white people during the time that we were growing up.
Okay.
So we basically had to hide our culture
Yes.
by blending in.
Be
But
as
then,
white as you can, technically.
yeah, so we're double agents, right?
Okay.
So
What is that? What does double Asian mean?
So on the outside, when we go outside, we have to then try to belong and be kind of like the Caucasian people.
Caucasian?
Yes. And when we're inside, we're the Filipino people, which is, you got to make sure that you clean the house, you cook,
Yeah. All the
fix your
Filipino
bed
shit
and all
that comes with
stuff,
it,
right?
Joseph. Right.
So, and the upbringing that we had is a little bit different as well because we were Filipinos, but yet we were taught the values of the Americans, which
True.
is you have to fend for yourself. You have
Yep.
to make sure that you learn early
Yeah.
in life. And that's how you basically contribute to the family.
Correct.
And I think that's what helped me become who I am now.
Yeah.
And I think if I grew up differently, I don't think I would have been as successful as I am now.
Correct. Education-wise, though, so you studied in the States and you've seen how kids are being educated are now. Not to defer and like try to compare each
Yeah.
other and whatnot, but what's the perspective like having again being educated in that system, not just through school but through the streets because it's a totally different thing. You have to work with people that's different race, different upbringing, and now you gotta blend it all back. Was it difficult to like find your footing and put your she said you blend in. By blending in you're also giving up a lot of yourself to you, right? So how was that, and then what triggered you to like come back to the Philippines? Because I remember you telling me that you actually bounced around the world for a while, and what led you to that path of being from the States and now being shipped around the world to run a lot of BPO companies?
So I think just kind of started off on the education, right?
Right.
I think the being educated outside the Philippines really helped me grow as the person that I am.
Sure.
It allowed me to become independent.
Yep.
It allowed me to view things a lot more different, and I had to then create a lot of opportunities for myself
Okay.
versus being handed down to me. Now, I'm
Correct.
not saying that's a bad thing because in the Philippines, one thing I noticed is that they become a little bit sheltered.
True. Too much
and-
cushion.
Yes,
Yeah.
and with that cushion, then kids start to build like entitlements.
Correct. Oh my God, you
and-
nailed it right in the head.
And because of all that, it doesn't allow them to basically grow as the person that they really wanted
Correct.
to.
Because they have that
when
safety
get
net
older.
all the time, right?
Because they have something to fall back on. Exactly. And you know, that's pretty evident as I traveled around the world as well. So I lived in different countries.
What started that? I mean, how did you get into the BPO? I'm pretty sure you've had odd jobs before, like we always do.
Yeah.
But how did you end up in this path where BPO was like your thing?
Well, the truth is that it's the easiest job to get.
Oh,
And because nobody really wants that job.
it's a dirty job.
It's the most hated job, in North America. Why? Because
Yeah.
if you work in a call center, then you are one of those people that calls their house
You get cussed at.
in the middle of their dinner
Fuck,
and
yeah,
try to
yeah.
sell them something.
Shit,
and
right,
so, there's a negative connotation, right?
Yeah.
So it was never really looked at from a career standpoint. And I
Okay.
never thought that it would be a career for myself as well.
Sure.
So I started out as a sales agent.
Telemarketer. That's like me.
telemarketer,
Holy shit.
Selling newspapers and
Newspaper subscriptions.
yeah, I mean the funniest thing is that selling something for free is the hardest thing. So I was selling a free newspaper,
Wow.
and nobody wants free newspaper because
What?
there's just no need for it.
Got it,
They don't want to
okay.
collect it in their house and so on. But anyways, what I had to then figure out is how do I sell this? How do I create the need?
Okay.
And that's where the passion started. Is
Right.
basically solutioning a problem.
Sure.
And creating the opportunity.
Yep.
And so that's what I basically got hooked on, and that became the passion. And then from there, I basically decided to explore
Right.
what this industry can do.
Okay.
So aside from selling, it does customer service. What does it do?
Right.
Inbound. Okay. From an inbound standpoint, what do you do?
Okay.
So I kind of got into it a little bit more as time go by, and then I was in the middle of finishing up my college.
Okay.
I took business management.
Okay.
So I wanted to then further apply my education.
Sure.
And so I challenged myself by understanding the business beyond what I'm currently doing.
Sure.
And then try to apply my knowledge. And from there, I was able to then manage a center.
Okay.
And then
No, wait, one sec. This I wanted to shed light in this because this is one thing that not a lot of, at least here in the Philippine setting, that's rare. That people work and study at the same time. That's a different hustle on its own, because you're technically doing. In the States, it's normal to have 2, 3, 4 jobs, right?
Yeah.
Here, that's alien. A lot of your classmates are just like, again, sheltered and whatnot. In order for you to be able to, again, be an agent, do your job well, and still go through college, what was that like? And how did you go through that grind to get past and now to manage a center on your own at a young age?
Yeah, so it's all about, having the need
Okay.
to do it.
Okay.
And in my case, I needed to provide for a child.
Okay.
And because of that, I was basically, pushed to come up with a very unique way of attaining those things.
Sure.
So one of them is, going to school at night, then having a
Shit.
job during the day.
Wow.
Not just one job, but sometimes two. So I have a part-time job during that time as well.
Shit.
Because things aren't cheap.
Yep. And you
but-
lived in the West Coast.
Yeah,
Shit. Right.
But one thing for sure is that time management
Yeah.
and commitment
Priorities too.
and priorities, right? Setting some goals.
Cool.
And those were the things that really drove me
Okay.
to be able to make it through.
Okay.
And getting that education is very important. And sometimes, we don't have a cushion to kind of say, okay, well, I'm just going to take a job or I'm just going to go to school.
Right.
And in this case, I have to do both.
Yeah.
Because I have no other choice.
True.
And it's not just me. It's a whole lot of other people in the north side that actually have to go through that. And it's a normal thing.
Correct. Again, that's the perspective that I want to share, especially for our listeners, wherein 80% of them are based out of the Philippines. And we're still both Filipinos, but the whole upbringing side where, you got to survive and put up for the child and all that stuff, is totally different dynamic, right? Where I kind of went through that semi because I had to work on myself, but it's a totally different ballgame. And here we're lucky, little things like we have a maid to care for our own chores and whatnot. In the States, that does not exist. You got to wash your underwear. If you had shit on your fucking underpants, you got to wash that shit. Literally.
Well, there is a washing machine, so
correct.
Someone will do it for you.
But still, if you had maid, like you had household help, it's a totally different ballgame.
Yes.
That's one thing that the Philippines has that they just don't appreciate it as much.
Yes.
Right. So Lex, walk us through. So let's now ride a time machine. I'm riding shotgun. You drive, as always. So, how did you? Now you got into the call center, and how young were you when you managed a call center, and how did you get sent all over the world?
So, by the time I actually managing a center, I believe I was already about 24, 25.
Shit. That's young. And a whole center. How many people were you running?
So it feels like a couple hundred, but in reality, it's only about 70 people.
But still, dude, 70 people.
I'm trying to think now, the people I work with, why I actually felt like it was like a couple hundred is because there are like 4 or 5 of them that really gives me a headache, equivalent to like 30 people.
Yeah.
And the difference between managing, people back home than managing people here in the Philippines is that I think because they just have so much stuff that they had to go through in life that they become more stronger personally. So their personality is a lot stronger.
Shit. They don't take shit from nobody.
Yeah.
Okay.
And to them, they think that, taking shit from anyone is just something that they're not going to go through.
Okay.
And by that way, they will pick a fight if they need to.
No. If you do that here, you're fired on the spot. And you'll be like, what?
No,
Right,
I've got to a point where people actually waited for me outside.
No fucking way.
Yeah.
Catch me outside. How about that? Like kind of that.
Yeah.
Kind of that stuff.
I got jumped a couple times already.
Oh, fuck.
Because of people that had worked for me just didn't like what I asked them to do.
And you were a young leader at that time. Pretty sure you were managing people twice your age or...
Yeah, three times my age at times, So it's kind of hard. Right?
How do you garner respect that early if you were running that stuff?
So first, it's really making sure that you show them that you're really leading them somewhere good.
Cool.
Right? And that takes time to establish. And unfortunately, the way to do that is you have to show them the money. Like what Tom Cruise said, show me the money, right? So that's what is important to them. So that's what you're going to have to show them. So you have to show them the green path, right?
Cool.
Versus here, it's the same thing, but the difference is that, they show respect immediately. They're more respectful. And this industry is more sought of as a career rather than
a dirty job back home.
Rather than a dirty job or just a pass-through job.
Got it.
Or a job that is someone that's in transition mode, right?
Okay, makes sense.
Here it's a career, so it's different. People are more structured. They understand what they really need to do.
Right, and there's a pattern. There's a good playbook. This are one of our most, if not the most, important industry in this economy.
It is. It's actually without this economy, without this industry, I think the economy would actually
we're fucked.
Been a lot more behind compared to the other countries.
Absolutely. Even culture-wise too. I mean, I always give credit to the call center industry because if I did not go through that, I wouldn't have this, or you wouldn't be listening to me like this. I'd be like, welcome to the Hustleshare, and we are with Mr. Alexis. Who would fucking listen to that, right?
And I think if the industry didn't thrive
No.
in this country, I don't think I would be here, right? I'd
True.
probably be still in India.
India.
Where I was actually staying at one point in time, which I hated it. Nothing against Indian people.
Right.
It's just that it wasn't the country for me. So
Okay.
every person has a fit for everything, right?
So what
India wasn't
from
it.
managing this, how did that go through now, you being sent? Because now you bounce around. You mentioned about like you going to the Caribbean and whatnot. What was that journey and what was the trigger?
So during that time, I was actually with another company
Sure.
who I actually been with for a much longer time.
Okay.
And I got promoted. So it started out by me being sent to another location to fix a problem. I was
Which
able-
country was it?
Well, that time it was just another state
Okay,
in the
state,
U.S.
okay.
So then after that, I was basically sent over to Canada to fix
There you
another
go.
problem.
Eh?
Yeah.
Hey.
But it's funny because I'm actually born in Canada as well. So for me, I was
Oh.
like, that wasn't so bad.
Okay.
And then,
And they say sorry a lot. Sorry about. Right?
About
Yeah.
so those people are from the East Coast,
Okay.
Far East.
We were in the West Coast, BC.
But I'm on the West Coast, so
Yeah.
the better part of Canada. I'd
Okay,
probably
there
say.
you go.
Nothing offense to people
Van
on
City.
the East Coast. So, but that's how it started. It started out by them trusting me with my capability,
Sure.
and
So you had rep already. You had
yeah.
reputation,
and so I
track
became
record.
the troubleshooter at one point in time. And at the end of the day, it's all about revenue. So I
So wait, did you literally come in? You know this movie Glengarry Glen Ross, right? Yeah, where Alec Baldwin will come in.
Yeah.
Always be closing. And fuck you effing,
ABC.
like ABC. Sure, you were that guy.
Yes.
We had some leads. So I'm referring to this clip for those people who are not aware of it. Go to YouTube anytime, and this is like the gold mine, or this is what salespeople always show during their shit. It's called, just put in always be closing. Alec Baldwin, and you'll see what we mean. It's like the most earth-shattering shit. But before Alexis continues his journey of how he started becoming a troubleshooter as a hired gun, per se, to fix shit up, let's take a quick break, and we'll talk more about how he started his journey, how he ended up here in the Philippines. More of that after the break. Hey, do you guys like what you're hearing so far? If you do, please don't forget to show us some love and subscribe to Hustleshare on your favorite podcast app. You can listen to us on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, and all the other major podcast apps. Also, if you want to get in touch with us and suggest the next hustlers you want to hear in the show, please do message us on our chatbot on Messenger. Just search Hustleshare or go to m.me/Hustleshare, powered by Chatbot PH. And lastly, if you want to know more about the details and resources we discussed during each episode, please go to our show notes at hustleshare.com. Cool? All right, back to the show. And we're back from the break. We're still with Alexis. How do you say it again? Dabon, right?
the bond.
Dabon. All right. So, Alexis, before the break, you mentioned about you now managing the team, and you're becoming this hired troubleshooter. Now you're being sent to city to city. How did that happen? Did you get sent to other countries, and then now all the way back to the Philippines?
Yeah, so back in early 2000s when the boom of the industry outside the US. So it's really looking for a more cost-efficient way to make this business work.
True.
Right? And at the same time, we're looking for destinations that would be able to provide that service
Okay.
in equal caliber as the North Americans.
Sure.
But for lesser cost, then that increases the margin.
Of course.
So we've basically expanded to India, South America.
Okay.
And, then we learned that Philippines would be probably the next best place.
Sure.
So at that point, our company decides to do some acquisition. So we bought companies in South America and India, but then they start to buy companies out of the Philippines, BPO companies. When they bought the first company, they basically said, okay, well, we need to send a team over there, and we need to make sure that they transition.
Okay. To this new standard of how you guys
to our
do it.
standards, right? And then at that point, basically, my boss came up to me and said, "Aren't you Filipino?" I said,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
But before that, you didn't really take. I'm pretty sure you had like vacations here every once in a while.
yeah. I mean, I came out here in the
90s?
1999,
Yeah.
2000, 99 going to 2000. I actually celebrated New Year's, the millennium,
Oh. Okay.
in the Philippines. But that was just for a
Vacation,
visit, you know. Never thought that I would be able to like get a job or stay in the Philippines.
Yeah,
Although
yeah.
I wanted to, because when I came out here, all I did was like party, and I was like, I missed out in my whole life.
Right.
You know, and here I am in this like big jungle.
Right.
That I'm like, my dollar is like worth so much.
Yeah.
This is it. I found the
Make
magic
it rain.
place, you know. So every night I was like taking out my cousins, meeting
Yep.
new people, becoming my friends, not knowing
Right,
the reason why they're my friends is because I was treating them every night. So I was
Right,
like,
right.
I want to stay here, but then I realized there's no way I can stay here
Right.
and have that lifestyle unless I'm making dollars. So I was like, okay, well,
Yes.
I'm just gonna have to go back and work again, and then come for another vacation. And then, in 2005 or 2004,
Okay.
I was actually in Panama. And
Panama.
yeah.
How's Panama? Just a perspective, because that's a random Caribbean island. Like,
You know what? Funny thing is that
no, it's not an island. It's a strip of land that connects the Pacific. In between, there's a canal that basically
There's a canal, yes.
connects the Atlantic and the Pacific Ocean.
Yes.
That's the only direct fucking route.
And,
right?
and if you ever get a chance to actually see how that works, you'll be amazed. Right?
Really, the science
Yeah.
behind it.
Well, just transferring one boat to another level,
right.
and
They
so
have
on.
this gate.
Yeah.
Right.
So they have to
Yeah.
increase. Well, but yeah. So Panama is just like being in the Philippines, I would probably say.
But
I think because the culture is almost similar, but the language, it's just
Espanol.
it's just nice. People were nice.
Okay.
The women were gorgeous.
There you go.
Scal-
As
muy
we're recording this,
caliente.
FYI, we're literally right behind our life partners, Alexis's wife and my queen, who you all know.
But then
already.
again, this is no holds bar. So,
All right, so okay,
this is
in the clear.
before them.
Right.
This is pre them.
Okay.
Right? So, but yeah, I think culturally it's almost the same as the Philippines.
Yeah.
It's just that the language I fell in love with, and I wish I've learned it even more.
Yeah.
Because I wish I could have really conversate with the locals. But inside the center that I managed, everybody spoke English, so it didn't really matter, right? But people were great, food was great. I always had a lot of places to actually venture out and
Nice.
go to. So anyways, I was there and I got a call asking me to go on another project. But
Okay.
this project is basically more long term.
Okay.
In fact, initially I wanted to turn it down because before Panama I was in Canada, and I just
So you really had to do like Panama, Canada. Where was it? Well, there was a pattern here. America, like
yeah, Philip,
no, more than two syllable.
India.
There you
Yeah,
go. So you got sent
Yeah.
out to India.
I did.
Okay.
That was before Panama.
Yeah.
But I just bought a place in Vancouver.
There you go,
And,
Van City.
I honestly did not want to let that go.
Yeah.
And I just bought a car as well. And you know,
A Lambo? Were you driving a Lambo?
Well, it wasn't. It was a Honda, but it was brand new.
Pretty close to a Lambo.
And so I told my boss, I said, well, you know what? I haven't had like a permanent place to live at.
Okay.
You know, and now I'm going to another place. Well, aren't you Filipino? I said, yeah. Well, this one's going to the Philippines. And I was like, say what? Say where? And so I was like, well, but still, so I was like, gave him the sad story that I just got a place, I just got a car. You know, how am I gonna pay for all that and not use it?
Right.
You know? So long story short, they basically cut me a deal and said, Alexis, we're gonna double what you're making. We'll take care of your car. We'll buy it off you, and we'll basically short sell your property and take care of, you know, whatever cost that you incurred. Right?
So they were really all in and like sending you out here.
Yeah, because the whole plan was basically is that we're gonna shut down 50% of our North American sites
and put it out here
and move it out here.
Which you could probably triple the head count with the same amount of money.
Yeah, I mean, even if we keep the same amount of head count, the margins would be greater. So in reality, the returns would be higher. So
that's the perspective. Just sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
Perspective of an operation standpoint of why they're throwing the money here. And in terms of output, I guess it just sounds way, way better from a customer point of view because we're more neutral and more Americanized the way we say it.
Yeah, they sound like you.
Sup? What up? I'm an OG flip, but I'm one from here. Fil-am, fil-kamuning. That's what it is.
So when we went through that whole discussion,
right,
I had to take like a couple more months, finish my project, and then came back to Canada, and then they followed up, and then I got the whole offer down on paper.
Right.
And so I added a few more things, and basically I said, okay, you know what? I'll sign up. And then 2005, I came out here. That was August 2005.
Okay.
And ever since, I've
on your
here.
birth month.
Yeah.
What's up?
So
okay. All right. So now let's talk about how hard was that for you to transition? Because I mean you're Filipino. Okay, so what? Now, okay, I'm Filipino, but you're still very American in the way you do things. How was that hard? Or is it because you're Filipino that we're very welcoming that now you gotta be balling like you used to in '99 to 2000 and whatnot?
So at first it was strange because there wasn't very many Filipino Americans that they've actually sent out during that time.
Oh, okay.
So I was actually one of the only few.
Shit. Okay.
And majority prior to myself was all white people.
Okay.
Or Mexican people.
Okay.
And basically they were, immediately accustomed to those type of leadership.
Got it.
And then up comes this guy that
looks like
them but different. The packaging is same as them,
right?
But then when they open the package,
like, whoa, what the fuck?
It's different. You know? So they bought a can of tuna, but they got chicken. They're like, oh wow, this is import stuff. All right, this is high grade. So it was interesting because at the beginning they were a little bit confused to how to basically approach me and deal with me, and that took some time to kind of marry the culture.
True.
Right.
True.
But in reality, there wasn't much that I needed to adjust because I grew up in a Filipino culture. But for me, there was a lot of excitement because now I get to live. So 5 years before that, I was thinking, how can I live in the Philippines and make the money that I was spending? So that came to reality.
Yeah.
And because of that, I got into a lot of troubles because, because money was just so much at that time that, I wasn't thinking like the way I'm thinking now.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, every weekend, our goal was to spend, like a couple $1,000s.
Dollars.
Yeah,
Big ballin'.
and so
Yeah.
that's how we basically manage our away from home.
Got it.
But the reality is that when I came here in 2005, I felt like I was already home.
Yeah.
You know, and
Wasn't much a judgment because of
No.
the culture that's
Yeah.
being done in the
And so I think after a year, if I were to look back now, it was an easier transition for
Okay.
the people that was working for me.
Okay.
Because then they get to relate. I get
Because,
to understand them.
Right.
But at the same time, they got to appreciate, you know, having a different mindset that's being shared with them.
Sure. Right.
And provide them that kind of guidance.
Okay.
right?
That is absolutely amazing. Now, Lex, walk us through now. So you did call center, and then you took a leap of faith, right? You said that you're on this grind for a while, and then you took up entrepreneurship. What was that like? What was the trigger point where you put up? And this is how I met you, right? It's funny because again, I was doing the nightlife thing. I was putting up my thesis. I met this guy who was running a similar site. I was this kid literally in college. I didn't know shit, right? And then he asked me to go meet him at a club. I'm like, okay, that's so fucking weird. Apparently he owns the fucking club and he owns the website. I was like, I was shit scared because I didn't know anything. I was this kid. But he took me in. It's like, all right, why don't you just marry each other shit. But that's what I know from how I knew you. But prior to that, how did you took that leap and put it I-604 with Joel, which is his partner is another big mentor of mine.
So that whole thing is all about, you know, challenging myself,
Okay.
right? And I know that I have to scare myself so bad,
Right.
enable for me to learn and try something different,
Right.
right? And if I wasn't scared, I wasn't gonna try it,
Okay.
right? And I kind of said to myself, if I don't do it now, when will I ever do it?
Right.
Right? And so I decided to do something different from BPO. So I stepped down from BPO industry to basically start up like a non-traditional
agency.
marketing.
Right, yeah.
Right? So what non-traditional marketing basically means is that something that ordinary people do,
Right.
but we do the opposite.
Yeah.
Right? But the difference with what we've done is that we want to make sure that we do things that we can actually measure.
Right.
Otherwise, we wouldn't do it,
Yep.
right? So I went and challenged the industry by coming up with solutions that we can provide them that they can utilize as a marketing vehicle. That same time, they can then go back and say, I spent X and gained X.
Got it. And what
Right.
were those technologies or what were those things that you guys did?
So, of course, we had our online
Of course.
execution.
Right.
So we basically before Facebook. I wouldn't say before Facebook,
Yeah.
right?
But baby Facebook, like the baby face.
around the social media time.
Right, right.
It's when we actually came up with social marketing.
Right.
And so when I say social marketing, we created our own kind of like Facebook.
Right.
So in fact, we created one for a very well-known beer product. I won't
Yep.
say which one it is.
Yep.
But we were one of the early adapters of
Yep, I remember.
social platform.
Right.
Right. In fact, you know, our strategy was to create a large number of connection
Correct.
that we can then market to.
Yeah.
And we created a lot of people kind of use now.
Right.
Which is kind of like connecting, you know, what is it, mashup or something like that?
Right.
Where we can aggregate different social platform by
And married
using
into
one tool,
one. Correct.
right? So if we upload, like, let's say a blog today into one, it will
boom.
upload to all.
Correct.
Right?
Similar to how podcasts work. I use one platform. It's called a podcast host. But in reality, what it does is now it propagates to wherever you're listening doing it now, whether it's a website, where it's iTunes or Spotify
Yeah.
or wherever. it's the same thing. So back then it was alien. It was very early in the game. Now it's
Yeah.
fucking normal.
So
right?
back then, you really have to think like how things connect. You have to look for APIs.
Right.
You have to ensure that those APIs are actually registered with one another.
Right.
And you have to make sure that you secure those keys, or otherwise you won't be able to get them to connect. And so back then, we would actually create like diagrams
Right.
of how the data would flow.
Right.
And those are just kind of like the science in the background, and
Yeah.
you're part of the
Right.
some of those early brainstorming.
Right.
But those were just some. But then we came up with another market disruption,
Right.
which is we brought in a technology using Bluetooth.
Yes, that was very. That's holy shit.
So
Like,
during
back
that
then.
time, smartphones wasn't readily available yet.
There's the time of old Nokias and Blackberries and whatnot.
Yes.
Right.
In fact, the first iPhone just came out during that time.
Oh shit!
Right.
But it's not the same iPhone that's full of apps now.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it's like an iPod with more functionalities that can do phone calls.
Correct.
Yeah.
And internet is not as widely available.
Hell
at that time.
no,
So,
no. Right.
But this technology allows us to basically communicate to any mobile device,
Right.
provided that they have a Bluetooth
Right.
active, right? So one of the things that we have done basically is like a concert for MTV, which we then outfitted the entire concert ground.
Right.
And there are signs all over the concert ground that says, turn on your Bluetooth to download Parokya ni Edgar,
Bam.
right? So you get the MP3. It was
Right.
still MP3 then.
Right.
You know, this could be your ringtone,
Right.
right? Or you get like a coupon, or
Right.
you get like a free, beer
Right.
when you download this. So that was something that was really early in the stage where
Super.
we were the only one that actually came up with it.
Right.
And because of that, it allowed us to then enter the different brands and
Okay.
and compete with other ad
Yeah,
agency.
yeah.
In fact, a couple other ad agencies partnered up with us because they didn't have the technology that
Right.
we did.
Correct.
And of course, then came about you, and
Right.
we realized what you were doing.
Yeah.
And then we marry basically what we've started.
Yep.
And we provided the platform,
Okay.
right? So when you were doing, you came up with a solution. So basically, you're solving a problem,
Right.
and that problem was, you liked to party at that time.
Fuck yeah.
And-
That's why they call me back then. Party Ronster. This is where Party Ronster was
The party
born.
monster.
Party Monster, Ronster to Party Monster. So yeah, now it's just Party Ronster.
So the problem that you were solving is basically the same problem that hundreds and
Yes.
millions of Filipinos
who want to go out.
want to go out are trying to solve as well, which is
Yeah.
how do we go out without having to pay? And,
Yeah.
and you came up with the solution, which is guestless,
Right.
right? And so we took your idea and we said, okay, why don't we do it this way?
Correct.
And that's when we start coming up with the online form and all
Right,
this stuff,
right,
right?
right.
So that became a business on its own,
Yeah.
and then became a spin-off to what you then
Yeah.
made even much
Correct.
bigger, right?
But that part was crucial because I was very raw. I was just pure passion. I had no skills. I knew how to talk a little bit because that's what kind of took you in. Hip hop, we both like that shit, right? But I was a young rookie with nothing and everything to prove. I had nothing, literally. And without your tutelage, it's so weird because till now, I use a lot of the shit I learned from you. Even my fucking and whatchamacallits, I still fucking use that till now, right? But there's one thing that I realized that I took from you, and Joel told me this, your partner, when he was like, I don't know any better salesman that unlike Alexis, where he can actually cuss in a presentation and still get away with it. I was like, all right, I'm gonna try that. And now I go to sales meetings and I fucking cuss, right? And I was like, oh, I can get away with it. I got that from you, so thank you for that. But Lex, I never got to ask you this. So from BPO to jumping into entrepreneurship, it's a totally different ballgame. The buck starts with you, different responsibilities, different type of headaches, because now you got to do payroll and whatnot, and it's your own money.
Yeah.
How did you teach yourself when you jumped, how did you adapt to that in terms of skill set, mindset, and everything? 'Cause it's not easy. Now I understand the whole hustle, but back then I didn't really understand because all I wanted to do is two things. I still wanted to party still, and I just wanted to get as many clubs as we can, and kind of get the girls a little bit. But yeah, that was back then. That was old me. But for you guys, especially at your age, you're probably in your 30s, mid 30s already. That's a totally different ballgame. You had a different set of thing. How did you transition from being now you have a good healthy cushion that you can make it rain for $1,000, and now you have to well, I'm pretty sure you saved, but how did you transition to that?
So I think it's all about believing that you can create more value than what you are providing to the company that you work for.
Okay.
And that value is something that you personally will benefit.
Okay.
Right? So there's a lot of discipline involved.
Right.
And, I'm just going to be honest, there was a lot of discipline that I've also missed.
Yes.
I probably missed them more than I should have, look after them. Right.
Yeah.
And so, because I'm a very passionate leader, so I know how to lead, my people towards the right path of success.
Correct.
But on that same note, I'm also passionate as far as life.
True.
And I think sometimes I overdid being passionate about life.
Yes.
Hence the fact that, I've taken, going out with you guys and partying up, more than I did the other stuff. But in reality, I carried a lot. I carried, all the house.
Super.
What to
Holy
do,
shit.
what we need to do, how to do it.
I didn't have a big team at all back then, right?
So I wear the different hats. So whenever we always part, those are the things I carry. So when I'm driving, I'm literally full steam ahead, going 90 miles an hour in my head, thinking of from, how do I fund it? How do I pay this? How do I get
I understand you so much now.
What product
Holy
do
fuck.
I need to create?
Right.
How do I innovate? Just all the house, right?
Yeah.
And you have literally a million questions at one given time that you're trying to solve. And fortunately for me, the way my mind works is it works. It needs to always solve something. Right. So there's always got to be an
problem
equation.
solver by
so
default.
it works out, right?
Right.
However, the problem was we were just a little bit really too early in the game, and it's all about timing. And I will not say that I regret, but I will just say that I would want to do it differently.
True.
I would probably do it later.
Sounds
right.
good. All right, now let's take a quick break, and now let's talk about when we come back. How did you go back to BPO how was that big paradigm shift? Have after what happened with entrepreneurship, and you went back because I was also part of when you went back. I was with you. It's a totally different venture, which again, you would never believe I did. I swear to God. All right, but we'll talk about that more after the break.
Effective automation is the best way for businesses to stay competitive. And having a chatbot for your business lets you easily automate and optimize sales, marketing, and customer service in the digital age. Chatbot PH will build, train, maintain, and market your chatbot across all messaging platforms. Our team uses the latest AI technologies to enable you to better serve customers 24/7, 365. Set a meeting with us today. Message us now at m.me/chatbotph.
And we're back. We're still with Alexis Dabon, or Dabon, whatever. But I'll say it the way Dabon is cool. But Alexis, all right, when we come back and I just want to shed some light into this thing. So when we shut down I-604 and whatnot, we got into the whole different shit and whatnot.
Yeah.
That's where it opened up. And I thank you for that a lot, because that's how when I realized that, it's not just fun and games. People there's a lot at stake here.
Yeah.
I remember when we were shutting down an office, we didn't get clearance because you didn't get to pay rent. That company we were doing it with, we were sneaking out shit in the building.
Scandalous.
Yeah, like, oh my God, like, okay, let's go, dude. I'm so scared, but let's go. I was sneaking out shit because if we don't sneak it out, that's gonna be stuck there in the office forever. That was totally different ball game. And then right then I understood. Then you took a decision. It's like, all right, I'm going back to BPO. The very first thing we did was we took in he worked in a call center again. Not that big, but it's still BPO because we can still do shit on the side. But I also had to make money too because it was like my mom was asking me one constant thing: "Where my money at?" I'm like, "Okay, I gotta go back. Enough of the partying and whatnot." So Australian account. One thing I did, I still remember this vividly because I can't believe I still did it. I was in an online flower shop. So people order this shit. I process it, and I call a local florist in Australia. It was so weird because I can't understand their accent 9 times out of 10. But I was like, "Hey, do you have chrysanthemums and whatnot?" "Yeah, double B, double A, double T, and whatnot." I was like, "What the hell?" But that humbled me so much that at the end of the day, I said, "You know what? I can actually do this." And after what I did was I joined Groupon, and that's where we kind of split. Parted ways. But you ran that thing and whatnot, and that was big because, again, my first job was a call center agent, and then right after all this partying, humbled me back to earth. That at the end of the day, I'd fall back in a call center now doing fucking selling flowers, right? And then you're asked to marry. Until now, I still benefit off it because when I give flowers in the rain, I know my shit. You can't tell me I'm gonna buy the bouquet. You make this on one lily and whatnot. My flower game is strong because of this experience. But Lex, how was that for you? So now picking yourself, I never got to ask you that because we were, boys don't really like to talk about the hard stuff.
Yeah, their wounds.
Yeah. How did you pick that? That was a dark time in your life, right? It was pretty hard.
It was. And for me, it was hard. But then again, it's not something new that I have gone through.
Sure.
So in my life, there's been a lot more harder stuff.
Yep.
In fact, when I was younger, got to the point where I was homeless for a few months.
Wow.
Literally, when I say homeless, I carry whatever I own in my back.
Shit.
So I had a backpack. That's it, right? So I lived on the streets for a few months until I started meeting friends and I was able to then stay with them and so on. So, and then a few other stuff like, and I lost, an opportunity to become, a father to my first son.
Yep.
So I just always reflect back on those things, right?
Yeah.
And always think that nothing can ever be so bad.
Correct.
Right? And you can always
You've been
pick
rock
back
bottom
up.
per se.
I think for me, the reason why I was able to get right back up is because one, I have no regrets, and two, I made sure that I have, invested in myself to build the skill, and the skill that I'm talking about is how to become a high income earner.
Okay, so what are those skills? So this is what we're veering into hustle tips. What are the skills needed, especially in this industry, to make it on top of the corporate ladder, or at least climb up the totem pole several notches higher?
Right.
Because we always talk about the superficial stuff. You need to hustle hard, but what are these skills? What do you need to do to get ahead?
So, for me, the skills. It's not something. Yeah, some things can be learned in school, right?
Sure.
But at the end of the day, it's a skill set that you really built through experience.
Okay.
Right. So in the industry that I'm in, is really managing the business.
Okay.
So one skill that you really need to have is having that open mind to understand things.
Okay.
Right. Allowing yourself to be a sponge.
Sure.
Especially if you don't know everything, the best way to learn is to be the dumbest person in the room so you can absorb everybody's knowledge. Because then after that, guess what? You're the you're the smartest person in that room in the next round.
Absolutely.
Right?
Because you're kind of sucked it all in.
Yeah.
Right.
But you can't absorb all those knowledge and not put it into play. So a lot of people are scared to make actions because they're scared to fail.
Yeah.
But see, in my case, what I've learned is that it's okay to fail.
Yep.
That you actually have to anticipate failure.
As a stepping stone to the next success.
Correct.
Right.
Right? Because that's once you've overcome that fear,
Right.
then you become fearless to try things and
Correct.
be daring. And so another skill that you need to be able to have to become successful, it's that skill of making decision no matter what lays on you,
Okay.
right? So
Being able to pull that trigger.
yeah,
Yeah.
and know that you could be wrong.
Yeah. And live by it.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the other thing you have to make sure when you do that though
Yeah.
is you got to be calculated at the same
True.
time, so that you know you're gonna fail. If you fail, what's your backup?
Yes.
And if that backup fails, what's the backup?
Right.
Right? And if those backup are put into place, how much would you lose?
Sure.
So at least how much you know exactly how much you then need to make up on your next plan.
And that's where a lot of people, I think, struggle because majority of them, a lot of people like the risk, but more so, it's a gamble. It's a Hail Mary. Like, oh, whatever, Geronimo, and they have no backup.
Yeah.
And then they fall flat. They have no bounce back. They don't have to have a counter move to fall from that because they put all their eggs in one basket. They didn't really explore their options. They didn't have a backup plan and whatnot. So
And that's scary because then, those people you would know that, they really, failed to plan.
sure,
So then in return,
they plan to fail.
they plan to fail.
There you go. Quotables from Mr. Alexis. So if you're one of those people that work for him, put that on your wall. There you go. Okay, Lex. Now, we from that point, you're now this again. I consider you like a father figure, and I appreciate everything that you've taught me early on.
You're
And
the best good-looking son I ever had.
Motherfucker. Nobody says that to me, but thank you. Appreciate that. No, but here's the thing. If you were, what was those things that you saw? Because you could have just chosen a random schmuck, right, and whatnot. If you were, let's look back again. What did I have that you think it's for you to give me? Because you were hustling on your own. What was it that I had when I was like bugging the fuck out of you to get this done? That if someone was wanting to be mentored, that's something you'd look for if you were trying to get a mentor to help you out.
So one thing that I saw in you
Yeah.
was that hunger, right? That thirst,
Yep.
and creating a success,
Yeah.
right? And at that point, you are willing to put the hard work,
Yep.
and you were really willing to commit.
Yep.
And it didn't take long for me to actually see that. Your
Yeah.
action actually showed it.
Yeah.
So if I was in your shoes at that time, I would have done exactly the same
Yeah.
thing, right? Because
Show up.
yeah.
Dude, you asked me to go to Alabang. I'm from QC. I
That's
didn't have a
right.
car.
That's right. And
Yeah.
to me, that was a dedication and commitment.
Right.
And the first few times I was like, okay, maybe it's just because he likes us.
Right.
But you really started to be consistent
Yeah.
and contribute.
Yeah.
Right. And even though you're just theoretically coming up with these things,
Right.
but you were contributing it. You didn't have any hesitation in feeding some of that thoughts into the table, right? And so if I were to mentor someone else, I would be looking for the same thing. So
Sure.
right now I actually do mentor a few people.
Nice.
Right?
So you're now in this new stage of you. It's a totally different guy because I mean, every time we meet and then we catch up, it's always refreshing because I come home with so much knowledge and a lot of
Or
bullshit and
drunk.
stupid.
Because I try to sucker you to drink more than
Oh
what you can
man,
drink.
and I know I suck at it. Every single one shot and I'm done, right? But you're at a different phase, and every single time you give me, it's not just knowledge, it's wisdom, and you rarely get that from people, and that's why I want to feature you here now, because if I was able to come home with this much, I want to be able to share it to the world, especially from a perspective of someone who works in a BPO industry, right? You know what? It's not impossible. It doesn't, no matter how hard or how bad the odds are against you.
Yeah.
If you just want it so bad and you're willing to put in the work, you're willing to be humble enough and you're willing to be mentored and you want to do that, you can rise.
Yes.
And all you need to do is take that fucking step to actually say, hey, I need help, mentor
Yes,
me.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think you nailed it, right? A lot of the millennials
Yeah.
today, they're just too proud
Yes.
to ask for help.
Yeah.
Right? They don't want to be frowned upon
Yes.
because they're young or whatnot, right?
Right.
But I think, they should change that mindset, because the reality is that they are at an era where there are more available resources
More
that
than
will
ever. Oh
allow
my
them
God.
to become more successful compared to people like us.
Yeah.
Right? And yes, it starts by looking up to someone
Yep.
and taking the courage to, reach out to that person, or might be multiple people,
Right.
and just say, hey, I like what I see in you. I want to be like you. How can I be like you?
Yeah.
You
and
know?
then leave your ego at the door.
Yes.
That's
and
it.
then at that point, if you think that you know a lot of things already and you're going into a mentorship program, you're going to fail already. Because when you go into a mentorship program, when you ask someone to mentor you,
Yeah.
you have to do one thing. Yes, one is leave your ego behind that door.
Yep.
Right? But another important thing is to unlearn
Yes.
everything that you know.
True.
Right? And be humble.
Yep.
Right?
Sit down. Be
You know,
humble.
But I think before all that, I what I tell people all the time is that before you aspire to be someone, before you look up to someone,
Right.
you have to look up to yourself first.
Okay.
Right? You have to believe in yourself that you can actually be that person.
Yep.
Right? Because if you don't believe in yourself,
Yep.
you can't expect your mentor
To pull
make
that
you
rabbit
believe.
because it's not there anyway.
Yes.
Right.
Because
Cool.
your mentor will just be there to share their journey,
Yep.
not to give you a template
No.
that you then just follow. Because
Yeah.
everybody's path is different,
Correct.
but we have guidance,
Correct.
right? And you don't become your mentor; you become your own self.
Correct.
So that's why you have to believe in your own self first,
Right.
before you look for a mentor.
Yep.
Then you use whatever you learn from that as your guidance to create your own path.
Okay.
Right?
Now, Lex, in this part of your life now, you're also mentoring people, right? And you're mentoring them not just from skills and whatnot and soft skills, hard
Yeah.
skills, whatever, but you're now mentoring them into something that a lot of people need and learn, which is financial literacy
Yeah.
and whatnot. So how did that paradigm shift happen to you, and why are you so adamant and passionate about it now? And why is it important for people to start learning?
Because I'm just tired of seeing a lot of people struggle in life,
Okay.
right? And the reality is that because of the BPO industry, we now have a middle class,
Yes.
which never existed before.
True.
But the problem with the middle class that we have is that, they kind of got overwhelmed with the career and the money that they are taking in,
Yep.
that they didn't have a chance to understand of how they can better manage that,
Sure.
right? So the millennials, they use this term FOMO.
FOMO,
you
mofo.
know? and I never knew what's FOMO.
Me too. I thought it was like a fuck her mother. I'm like, whoa. It's like,
Yeah.
all right. So I thought it was fear
And so-
of missing out. Okay.
And so I'm like, I'm hesitant to even like repeat it
No,
because I
no,
might
it
be
wouldn't
offending
look good on
someone,
people our age.
you know? So I finally realized that somebody told me what it is, fear of missing out, and I'm like, fear of missing out. That's the reason why majority of people don't have anything saved, and it's sad because they make good money, and the reality is that there's no such template for like savings. It's very really easy, and it is really pay yourself first.
True.
You know, you get paid. It doesn't mean that you pay yourself already.
In terms of shoes or material,
Yeah.
stupid shit that's
So
not
that's
gonna
what
make
they
you better.
think about paying themselves is that, you know, I worked hard the past 40 hours, so I deserve
Yeah.
that new iPhone
Yep. Their new Air Max.
or that new Air Max or that new PS4 or whatever it might be, right?
Right.
It doesn't have to be like thousands of pesos. For some people, it could be like 500 pesos worth. They
Right.
think they ultimately deserve it.
Correct.
I think they got to have an understanding about the money.
Sure.
And that is money I make, what is that for tomorrow?
Correct.
What I mean by that is if I make this money today, how can I make sure that my tomorrow is protected?
Correct.
So what do I do? So first I pay myself. Ideally, I tell people, you know what? You should pay yourself 50% of what you get,
Yep.
right? If you can do it.
Yeah, but again, it's a case to case basis depending on your responsibilities
And
as
if
well.
you can't do it, start out with 5%
Yeah.
until you can ramp it up, right?
It becomes a habit. It's a
Yeah.
habit forming thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's stuff at first, but once it becomes second nature to you, it's gonna be gravy.
Because I'll be honest with you, someone that is probably making so much money
Right.
doesn't have any savings, and someone that's making, let's say, 20,000 a month could probably have more money than that person that's
Correct.
making 100,000.
Correct. Absolutely.
So savings is one, and then another one is the reason why I really want to change or help people change this mindset or this culture
Right.
is because I want them to have a better future life.
Okay.
I'm tired of seeing old people have nothing
Yes.
and then having to rely
On their children.
on their children. So what does that do? You basically created a
chain.
a chain of dependency.
Yep. Which shouldn't
Right.
it shouldn't have been there anyway.
Yeah, and ultimately all the way down to the grandchildren,
Yep.
they're basically going to be financially struggling
Yep.
at an early age. Why? Because it starts at the oldest generation.
Correct. I mean, we're not saying that. I mean, I had the most beautiful time taking care of my grandma and whatnot, but it wasn't easy financially.
No.
Especially when the bills, what was
Medical
it?
bills.
Yeah, dude.
you know.
No, I saw my mom struggle through that. And had we been more prepared and we had more things like, you know, insurance and whatnot, would have been a big help and whatnot. Or anything that would pay you passively because you paid your dues early in life.
Yes,
Right.
yes. And you know, the great thing about the millennials is that they know they can save.
Just don't
But
do it.
savings is not, you know, it's not something that people just do. It's a choice, right?
Okay.
But money aside, life is a choice.
Absolutely.
So it starts there.
Okay.
So if they realize that everything in life, everything that they have, everything that happens in their life
Okay.
is because of the choices that they make,
Okay.
then they will start understanding that I can actually save because I choose to save. I can actually become successful because I choose to be successful.
Yep.
I can actually have a business because I choose to be successful and have a business.
Yep.
Even if I don't have the money, I can have a business or I can start a business because I can be resourceful.
Correct.
And you're a good example of that,
Yeah.
right?
So Lex, you're now at a phase that you're literally helping them out. If they wanna get that type of mentorship and whatnot, how do they get in touch with you? Because if I was able to get it, and you're already doing it for like you said, a handful of people, and you're helping them out in terms of whatnot, how can they get in touch with you just in case of that?
So at the moment, I'm still building my online platform,
Right?
but if they really want to, they can connect to me via Facebook.
Okay. It's Alexis Dabon, Alexis, and then Dabon, Dabon. Don't worry, this is not some guy who's gonna screw you up. He's way up there. He's running a big contact center here in Cebu. So
although if they do reach out to me, they just gotta be patient because I do type with two fingers. So it might
chopsticks.
It might take like some time to respond back, but ultimately I will try to get back to people. But
how about email? Is there an email that they can reach out to you at?
Yeah, so my personal email is alexisdabon604@gmail.com.
There you go.
So they can also reach out there.
Yep.
But I think ultimately, if they really want help, the best help for me, I'll be honest, is Google, right?
There you go. Educate yourself.
It does start there, right? There's no better way to learn but to do your own self-learning. There's a higher retention of knowledge when you actually do your own self-learn, right? Versus something that's thrown or given to you.
Correct.
Because there's not much appreciation from that.
Just like in school, when you're force-fed shit that you don't like, fuck this.
Yeah.
Right.
But guess what? When you earn money and you buy like a cell phone,
right?
How do you treat that cell phone?
Investment.
Well, people actually take that phone and they protect it. They put cover. They hold that with their dear life.
Right.
Why? Because they work hard for that money. Right?
True.
So same thing with knowledge. If they go out on secret, they would appreciate that more.
Correct. Absolutely. Again, Alexis, it's been a great pleasure having you on the podcast. I wish we had more time, but beyond this, I think people will just snooze out. But we'll have you back on the show to talk more about how people can educate. But for now, this is again. Thank you, my man. Appreciate it.
No, thank you. And Ron, you're doing a lot of great things, and I think you are a blessing to a lot of people, especially those people that think that business is something that they can only dream about. And you're a living testament of dreams do come true.
Appreciate that. And again, credit where credit is due. Without the proper mentorship, I would have never even got close to at least where I am. And at least without that, you knew my hunger, and that hunger was to provide my mother a house. And without that was my main goal. And I finally was able to do that after like years and years of hustling. So again, thank you, appreciate it. But this is it for us now. And again, thanks for listening to Hustleshare. We'll see you in the next episode. Peace.